Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Oh yeah, this is totally the best any occasion, any person, useful gift. These yin and yang tissue covers are reversible. Yep, you could use this tissue cover right here for fall, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then when you get tired of it, you can either go to the next season, but you would have to make one with that next season on the other side, or you could put another fall one. All you have to do is flip it off and turn it right side out, and then just slide it back over your tissue box. It's just that easy, friends. And anyone can benefit from this right here. I mean, I would totally gift it with the box of Kleenex in it, of course. Check out the information box below so you can see how to get your hands on this pattern. So this pattern is awesome. It comes in 3 sizes: squatty square size, the long regular size, and the long shorty size. Now, if you don't like the Steelers, I'm sorry, but this one's for my husband. All the measurements and all the informations are in this pattern, no worries. Enough talking already. Let me get on with this tutorial so I can show you how to make these awesome yin-yang reversible tissue box covers. Print out your pattern, cut all around the edge of the pattern on the line, and figure out which pattern you would like to use first. Once you figure that out, then you're going to take the instructions where it says to tape the 2 pieces together. Right there I'm pointing to it, and you tape those 2 together. This is what they look like when they're taped together. Easy peasy. For this example, I'm going to show you how to make the regular long box tissue cover. All you'll need is just this one piece that has been taped together. Now, as a side note, if you want to make the shorty long box, tissue box cover, all you need to do is follow where the line is and either cut it or fold it on the line. All the other measurements are the same, it ends up, except for, you know, the height of the box, hence shorty box. The first thing you need to figure out is what 2 fabrics that you want to complement each other on one side, and what other 2 fabrics that you want to complement each other on the reversible side. Just lay your pattern piece down on your fabric. I pinned mine down and I rotary cut around it, or you could trace it and then cut it, whatever makes you more comfortable. After you have that one piece cut out, then you're just going to flip this piece. You don't even really have to flip this piece, because no matter where you put it, if the fabric is right side up, it's going to fit. Then you're going to just lay your pattern piece down, pin it, and then cut out just like you did this one. And so you're left with 2 pieces, hence yin and yang. On the reversible side of this one, I wanted something that was more universal for the person that I'm making it for. This is their Christmas color decor, and then this is just something that I know that they'll like. And you just do the same thing. Lay down, cut out, and lay down and cut out. Simple, right? I know. You could do one of 2 things at this point. You could either interface these fabrics after they're already sewn together, though, important note. You can interface them with any interfacing that you like. I tend to like the Pellon EK 130 Easy Knit. It has a little bit of stretch to it, and it just interfaces just beautifully. Got a fusible side so that you can fuse it to the fabric. You can also use some fleece interfacing, and that's what I used on this particular one. I used the stretchy interfacing on one of the sides. On the other side, I used a fusible fleece so that I could, you know, do some free motion quilting. Made it a cute little quilty box. For this particular box, we are just going to concentrate on interfacing it with the stretch knit. We're not going to do anything fancy. We are going to line up our notches. We are going to pop some pins in. Right sides together. Line up where the V shape is. The important thing to note here is that when you match up your notches, it's the V shape at the bottom that you're matching up. That's important. It may look like these are off, but when we go to do those side corners of the tissue box, it's going to work. Trust me. You're going to need to set up your sewing machine for a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I know it seems big, but that's what we use for projects. I'm using my magnetic guide here and set it right on my plate, and I've already measured from my needle over. To slide this up under, I'm going to first take my needle, or first take my pen out because it doesn't fit in there. Line everything up, and I'm going to start sewing where the bottom of that V is. You're just going to continue with a 1/2 inch. Make sure to back stitch. Keep going until you get to the bottom of the other V. Grab your other piece and sew the same thing from bottom V to next bottom V. Next thing is to open these up and press open this middle section. You can see here these two flaps. That's normal. You don't really want to press those any which way. Just kind of keep them flapping in the wind. They'll kind of lay crisscross like that, kind of flat, if you allow them to lay that way, and just so that they're out of the way for now. We're not ready for them. Next, you're going to take and flip over to the wrong side. My mat is a little small, so I'm trying to work with what I have. You're going to take and cut out a piece that matches this entire piece. Now what you can do, since you only have the one side of the pattern, you can always cut out another side of the pattern, tape it together, and make one big one for a pattern. I just laid my piece out and I rough cut around it. You want to make sure that the rough side, which has the glue on it, is facing down onto the wrong side of your fabric. Make sure everything is nice and flat. And you're going to have two interfacings, one for this one and one for this one. And just follow the instructions. So the instructions say to make sure that everything is nice and damp. So I'm just, spraying that. And I'm going to spray my cloth too. So you can see there that is nice and stiff. It's not overly stiff, but it's not overly, like it has nothing. So I like it. And with doubling up on this, it works really nice. Let me go ahead and put the interfacing on this one, and then I'll turn my camera back on. Now that you have both interface fusibles on, it's time to grab pattern piece number 3. Now it doesn't matter which inside of which one that you trace pattern piece number 3 on, just pick one. Now if you do end up using the fusible fleece, make sure that you trace it on the side that you have the other interfacing. The more flat interfacing, it's a lot easier to trace on. Lay this one right side up, and then I'm going to take and place this one right side. And if you look, you can see that they're already crisscrossed right there, because that is the absolute center. So line this up, right sides together. Grab your pins and put one here at the end, another one at the end, one over here, and then pop one over here. Fold this in half so that it meets up here. Put like a little finger crease right there. Fold this one over. Now you can do this first without your pins in. That probably would work best. Find the center and just, give it a finger press. When I do that, the center is right here. So I'm going to take my erasable ink and make a dot right in the center. Fold this piece in half and then fold it in half again. and then unfold it, and then mark the very center right there. Now you're going to take a pin from the opposite side and pop it right up in the center of where you made that dot. So you can see here. It's going to be right there. Push it all the way up. Don't stick yourself like I have several times now already this week while messing with this pattern. So then you're going to take this piece and pop it right on top of the pin where that red dot is. You may have to try a couple times. There you go, right in the center. Now don't get stuck with this pin. Now the crease that you made going this way, you should still be able to see it. If not, you can eyeball this and just make sure that this is definitely even on here. Once you have that even, then you can pop a pin like so. And then you can pull out that other pin so you don't get stuck. Then you're going to just simply trace around this pattern piece. And you are left with that. Then you're going to come over to your sewing machine, take your 1/2 inch out of the way. Now what you're going to do is just simply stitch right on this line that you just drew on this fabric. Go nice and slow though, because you can, get off track a little bit if you try to go too fast. I don't start at the tip. I always start somewhere, off to the side or top side. Make sure that you backstitch. When you get to one of the points, go really slow. One major tip I can give you, do not backstitch at the point if you go over. You're going to have to unpick and restitch that. If you try to backstitch at the points on the end of the almond shape, you are going to get a pulling at those tips when we turn it right side. So, be mindful of that. Once you get to the tip, lift your presser foot and pivot. And then just keep going. No backstitching there, friends. You'll mess it up. Nice and slow toward that end. You may need to stitch one more time by checking, and you might be off just a little bit, so swivel it back and give it one more stitch. If you're really afraid to go over, just go ahead and hand crank it. I've done that. I'll do it right now. There you go. I hand cranked it. And then lift and now pivot. And when you get to the end, meet up with your last threads that meet up with your threads that you started with, and then backstitch. Maybe you can see that better on that side, that almond shape. And I just followed, the red on that side. To take our pins out, kind of squeeze it together like this, because we want to get in this hole right here. So I'm just going to take some scissors and cut right into that. So it leaves me with a big hole in the center, see? I'm gonna grab my tiny curved snips. I don't know if you can see that, they're curved. I'm going to go ahead and grab the one side here and start cutting in close to the thread, about 1/8 of an inch away from where my stitch line is. I'm gonna get close here to the almond point and go all the way around first and cutting out that up to 1/8 of an inch away. This part's important right here. You are going to get close and snip up into that almond area right there, but you're going to get as close as you can without nipping that thread, because if you nip it, you're going to have to start all over or make your hole bigger. And then you're going to just snip some tiny little notches all the way around this, and this will help this bend and, you know, lay nice and flat for us. Make sure you do the other end of the almond up to where the thread is without cutting the thread. And then a bunch of notches all the way around. And then once you have all the notches taken care of, you're going to grab one side and shove it through this hole. You should have something that looks like this. Now, if by chance you have pulling still right here at the ends, go in and check and see where that pulling is, and you may need to, you know, put an extra notch here in the little seam allowance, a little 1/8 of an inch seam allowance here, or you may need to cut in closer to the thread, you know, at the end of that almond shape. Just all depends. For this next step, all you're going to do is lay this nice and flat and make sure that everything is nice and even around this opening. Kind of press it with your fingers and then give it a hot press, making sure that everything lays nice and flat. Flip it over and then make sure you do the other side. So once you have everything nice and flat on both sides, then you're going to go in and put a top stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from that opening. You need to make sure though that everything is nice and flat here, because you don't want this to shift either. You can pin this if you like at this point so that it doesn't shift, but I think we're going to be okay. And then I just go nice and slow, 1/8 of an inch all the way around from the edge. The same thing applies here. Don't undershoot and don't overshoot the edge of this almond, the end of the almond, I mean. You can always pivot to see where you're going to land just to make sure. And I think I can go one more stitch out. So here's a nice top stitch on both sides. The next thing you're going to do is take all of these corners, now the corners that are right next to each other, you're going to place them right sides together. All 4 on the one piece and all 4 on the other piece. The important thing that you need to note here is that when you turn this like this, make sure that the end pieces are together first, and then pop a pin like so. Again, I line up first the bottom pieces and then follow my way up through. Make sure that these pieces that were these loose corners here, that you open that up and that those two are together, like so. We don't want those to get tucked in there any which way. You may have to push away some of that interfacing right there if you went over that area, because you have to open those up so that they lay nice together. Next, you're going to put your 1/2 inch guide up, whichever, you know, however guide you use or whatever you use that. Now I start sewing at the bottom of the pieces. So on this, there's a straight edge there, and then I'm going up the side. And you're, ow, I just pinned myself, ow, poked myself. So you're just gonna go a 1/2 an inch, back stitch, you're ending right at the top of that piece there and back stitching right there as well. Next, we need to put them together for a second before we sew the bottom. And we need to press the seam allowances in opposite directions so that, you know, there's not a whole lot of bulk there in the corners. So I kind of just get it started by pushing one inside of the other just to kind of see what's going on first. To see if one is pushing one certain way more than the other, and if so, I'll give that particular seam, you know, that direction. So then I have those two going together in opposite directions, and I'm going to pin just real quick because I'm going to press them in this way together before I turn them wrong side out and sew the bottom. Just kind of poke your finger through. See, I'm just poking my finger through here, you know, pushing that so that it's like so. And then here you can see, hopefully, I have one seam allowance going one way and one seam allowance going the opposite way. And when I get them how I want to press them, I'm going to pop the pin. So here I'm just going to open it up and just give this a press best I can on every single seam. I'm just shoving my iron in there, nose first. And these pins are Marblehead pins, and so they are heat resistant, so they're not going to melt. So you don't want to do this with pins that are not Marblehead or glass or whatever. I think mine are marble glass head pins or something. I don't know. My link is in the description box. You can check it out. They're really nice. I love them. Now take all of those pins out and pull it so that you're looking at all of the innards of this tissue box holder. Take this right here, as it's like this, hold up one of the two long side areas, kind of scrunch it all right here, okay? And then you're going to lift this piece over to this piece and find the corner and pin it. Being sure that, you know, you don't catch any of the inside. You want that, you know, stuff that we just smushed down the center, you want it to stay down there. And then come along toward the end here and just pin all the way until you get to this end right here. Might seem a little awkward, but it's okay. Now, which side did this go? Yeah. I should have marked the center of the sides before I did this, so let's do this now real quick. So just line up, fold it kind of, and just find the center. So after you've found the middle and you've pinned all of those, just that side right there, just 3 pins, that's all you need. Take the elastic for whatever size box you're making, unpin that, take and push this elastic in here like so, and then line it up with that mark you made. And let's just sew this on real quick. We're just tacking this down on here, just about 1/8 of an inch in, just tag it down back and forth. So there, that piece is on there. Now shove that in there and don't worry about it again, for a minute anyways. And let's line this up like so and pin. Now what you're going to do is start sewing right before this, okay? Back stitch, and then we're going to go all the way around. This is a really fun technique when you have a couple spots on opposite ends that are sewn up and you want that really professional look. So stay with me here. You want your 1/2 inch guide on here, and you're going to start on the center long side just before you get to the elastic. So just in front of it. Now you're holding this fabric back here together, and you have the one corner pin, so you're good there. But you just want to kind of keep it together because you're not going to be able to pin the rest without sticking yourself a million times anyways. So go right over top that elastic. And you may have to unpin it, you know, at this point. And what you're going to do is kind of tuck the end in as you sew, and then you're going to pull this end that's towards you out and open. And you're just going to keep connecting these two pieces together. And you're going to tuck this one in. So you're kind of pulling out like a sausage almost. And you're just going to continue lining up and sewing. Let me see if I can get you a different angle. So you can see here, I'm just going to keep pulling this innard out and then keep connecting these as I go. Okay. So I'm checking, making sure that nothing is being inadvertently sewed. Stopping after a little bit, taking this and kind of pulling this through like a sausage. And what that does is keep feeding me a seam allowance that I can sew together. And hopefully, if you measured everything correctly, your seams will all be together. Mine are just a tad off. I don't know what I did wrong. Once you get to the middle of the other side, you're going to, where did I mark it at now? Once you get to the middle of the other side, where is the mark? I didn't mark it, or did I? I didn't. So you should have marked the other side too, but I did not. So you're going to stop right before you get to the middle of the other side, and you're going to leave yourself, you know, a good, I don't know, 3 inches or so that you can turn this project. But what you're going to do is just pull this through a little bit more. Once you take this off, then you're going to follow along here, you know, leaving that space and pin, because this is where you're going to start sewing again. It'll make more sense here in a sec. That should be good for now as far as pins goes. So I'm leaving this opening, you know, somewhere in the middle right there so that it matches up with the elastic that we're gonna, you know, tuck in there and, you know, sew everything up here in the end. I'm gonna start to sew over here where this pin is. Keep tugging that sausage through. Keep going until you close it up with that initial stitch that you made. Just hold everything nice. With this hand, you're pushing this big ball down. Pull a little bit through. Should be the last of what we have to pull through. Now, make sure there's nothing, you know, bunched up in there. Come to the end, back stitch, tie off. Find that hole on the other side that you left open and pull everything out through that hole. Pull all of your seams, roll them out with your fingertips. You're going to take and press everything out all along the edge here. So I have just pressed all of the edges out real nice, rolling them out with my fingers. And now it's time to put the top stitch on. Now I do have a trick for that. You know, I got a trick for everything, right? Now we know that this is going to go and tuck in here in the center of that opening on the other side, right? My plan to make sure that this stays out of the way as I'm sewing this is to start right here, right before all of that. So I'm going to start sewing on this side of where the elastic's going to be. You don't need the 1/2 inch on this one, friends. All you're going to do is put just a tiny 1/4 inch top stitch all around the bottom. Be sure to back stitch. Now when you're coming to the other side, all you do is take this piece, when you get close to that red mark that you made for the middle, you're going to make sure that the elastic is not twisted. And you're going to lift it up and shove it right where it needs to go. And make sure that the bottom piece, you know, is out of its way too. And just hold the, you know, hold it out of the way so you don't catch the rest of it. I did that on a couple of the earlier ones. Once you sew over it, keep going until you get, you know, right to the end of where you first started sewing, back stitch and tie off. Oh yeah, friends, I bought the big economy pack. Guess who's getting Yin Yang Kleenex box covers for Christmas? Oh yeah, everyone I know. Which I guess I don't know that many people because I didn't get too many boxes. So go ahead and take the top off if you want. You don't have to take the top off, you know, if you're going to gift it, whatever. So here is the Christmas one. Real quick, while the box is in there, you can kind of go around and just give it a quick press. I mean, it's just cardboard under there. It's not going to hurt anything. Let's take a look at the other side. Let's flop it this way. Kleenex, anyone? So there's this side. How cute, right? And I'm going to put it on the Christmas side because it is Christmas right now. The person that I'm making this for, this is totally their vibe and they are going to love it. I really wanted to do a Christmas one and then a Valentine's one, you know, but I didn't really have any Valentine fabric. So, yeah. Is that cute or what? Let me tuck this in a little bit so you can kind of see. Super cute. Yin and yang, yin and yang. Woo, I love it. What do you all think of my yin and yang reversible tissue box covers? I hope you get the pattern and I hope you make them. Be sure and email me all the good pictures. Until next time on the Sewing Channel. Bless you. I know, I'm corny.